Yes, so welcome everybody. My name is Roslyn. I work here at Curtin Library, and today I'm going to be taking you through some extra tips and tricks for using EndNote. This session is being recorded and will be sent out to everybody who has registered within 2 business days. If you have any questions as we're going along, please feel free to pop them into the chat. And if you're not sure where to access the chat, just down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there should be a purple tab. If you click that, it will expand out and you'll see a speech bubble. And if you click on that, you can put your chat messages in there. Just to note, while I'm going through this session, I can't troubleshoot individual issues with your EndNote during the session, but I am happy to answer questions about what I'm demonstrating. If you are having issues or you have questions about your own EndNote, you can pop them in the chat and I will try and answer them at the end of the session. Or you can get in contact with the library and we can try and assist you with that. I'd like to acknowledge that today I'm joining you from the lands of the Whadjuk Noongar people, and I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past and present as custodians and owners of these lands. This session is designed to provide tips and advice to EndNote users who are working on in-depth projects such as PhD and master's theses or honours theses. If you haven't used EndNote before, it's best to join an EndNote Essentials session, which covers how to set up and use the software. This session is just extra tips and tricks for researchers who are already using the program. This is what I will be covering today. Firstly, I'm going to be talking a little bit about options for syncing and saving your EndNote library. How to find additional referencing styles and edit those styles. I'll be looking at some different ways of adding PDFs and attachments into your library, as well as how to manage your library and organize your references. I'll be going through working with long documents in Word, and I'll be giving you some information about how to access EndNote once you've finished with Curtin, and finally where you can get help with EndNote. I'm just going to share my screen. We do have a guide available. So just open that. So we do have a guide available on EndNote Extras. You can get this from the library website. If you scroll down when you get to the library website, you'll see a Uniskills link. And that takes you to our Uniskills modules. And under digital, if you're already using EndNote, you'll be familiar with the EndNote Essentials guide, but just below that one, we have EndNote Extras. So this is the content that I will be covering today. If you do need to go back and refresh after the session or follow up something that I've shown you. So just keep that in mind. We do have that guide available. I'm just going to firstly talk about syncing and saving your library. I'm going to be demonstrating in my own library today, which has a very large number of references, as you can probably see. So syncing, EndNote has a syncing functionality, so you can synchronize your references between your EndNote desktop library and an EndNote online account. You can then access your library on other computers as well. So it's really useful if you're working on different computers. Maybe you've got a work laptop or a uni computer that you work on, or you have a home computer. Syncing allows you to access your references without having to create lots of copies of your library and try and import references into different libraries. It just makes it a bit easier to access your library. It's also a good way to back up the content that's in your library. When you're first starting out with EndNote, you're probably not going to have a lot of references, but when you are working on a long document or project, you'll probably end up with very large numbers of references. As you can see in my library, I've got about 800. So it's good to have a backup so you don't lose your library if anything goes wrong with your computer. To set up syncing, you need to set up an EndNote online account. If you go to the Library tab, okay, in EndNote, the first option that appears is Sync. So if you click on that, it will come up with a box that prompts you to log into EndNote Online your EndNote Online account. So if you have an existing EndNote Online account, you can put the details in there. There's also an option to sign up if you don't have an account. My library is already set up to do syncing, so I can't actually show you the box that comes up because it's already been done. But just over here on the side, you can see I've got a sync status, and you can see that this is syncing to my EndNote online library here. So this will just go through and synchronize the references between my EndNote library on my desktop and my EndNote online library. You can also set up the sync through your preferences. If you go to the Edit menu at the top and Preferences, if you are on a Mac, the Preferences is under the EndNote menu, not the Edit menu. When you go here to your, it will pop up and you can select the sync option in that left menu, and here you can put in your account details or enable sync if you haven't already done that. Something else that you can select in here is to sync automatically. If you tick that box, that means you don't have to do anything. Every time EndNote will just sort of scan your references and sync them. I think it's every 15 minutes or so. Okay, so Rasheen just asked, do you need to do that more than once? So yeah, if it should just, if you do that sync automatically, it should, you don't need to worry about it. It should be syncing. Once you have set up sync, what you can do is access your references on different computers as well. So rather than having to keep creating different libraries and then import references from one library to another, you can just, when you open your open EndNote on another computer, create a blank library. So if you do File and New, you can just create a blank library on that computer. And then once you have done that, and saved it, you'll be able to go here to this library and sync, or go to your preferences and the sync option there. Enter your account details, so your EndNote Online account details, and it will start, once you've done that, it's logged in, it will start to sync and bring in all of the references from that you've synced to your EndNote Online account. Okay. So it's just useful so you have a bit of a backup of your library, but also so you can access your library on different computers. So that option is available to you, and I would recommend, if you are working on a sort of major project, it's good to have that sort of EndNote Online account as well, and syncing. I'll just quickly go back here to the EndNote Extras guide, and there is a section there about library syncing. And this just gives you the information about how to set up the sync, and also how you can sync to additional computers. Right. So I'm going to move on now and talk a little bit about finding and editing referencing styles. As you know, when you're working with EndNote, there's a number of styles available that you can select from. On the preview pane in your library, you can click the drop-down menu and select. You get a list of styles. So some of these are ones that come with EndNote. You may have selected the curtain styles that we have available as well, and they'll appear in this menu. If you go to select another style, that gives you a larger list of styles that you can choose from. And if you are maybe doing a journal article, submitting an article to a journal, if you have a look here, you may find that there is a style available for that journal, and you can select it from this list, to highlight it, to choose, and then it will be added to that shorter list of styles that you can select from. So these are all ones that are included with the program. But there is actually quite a large number of other styles that you can access as well. Just back on the EndNote Extras guide, under the Add and Edit Styles page, we have information about getting those additional styles, but there is also a link to the EndNote Output Styles page. So on the EndNote website, they have additional styles that are available. And you can see there's more than 6,000 that you can use or choose from. I'll just scroll down a little bit and it will take you to a style finder. And here you can enter keywords from the journal if you're looking for a journal style, and it will come up and list any that are available that match that. So I'm going to try maybe MDPI and do a search. And here it's come up with a few. There's the MDPI ACS journals. There's a Chicago one as well. And I can just click on the download. This creates a download file, and I just want to open that file, and it opens up the style folder. To add it to my EndNote, into my EndNote, I just go to File and sorry about that, my connection just dropped out. I've just downloaded that file, that style file here, and I'm going to go to File and Save As, and it will come up with the name of the style, and it will say Copy. You can take copy out. You don't really need it there if it's one that you don't already have in your library, but I'm just going to leave that there so I know which one I'm looking for. And I'm just going to save that. And when I close out of that style folder, I'll go back to my EndNote and to that select another style menu. And I can select the copy, the style that I've downloaded from here, and then do choose. And now it's added that style into my library, and I can select it from this drop-down menu. One of my tips when you are searching in this style finder on the EndNote website is if your style uses an ampersand, so that and symbol, so if you're looking for a journal name and it includes an ampersand, use the ampersand, not the word and, because you may not find it if you use and instead of an ampersand, or vice versa. It's a bit of a funny thing, I don't know, but I have come across it where that happens. But yeah, there is a whole range of other styles that are available to you. If you are submitting to a journal and you can't find the style in EndNote, have a look here, because there may be a style available that you can use. When you're working with styles, sometimes you will come across an instance where the style that you're using doesn't quite match up with what you want it to do, or you can't find a style for a particular journal that you need. So you can edit the style if you need to. If I go to the Tools menu, under Output Styles, you'll see that list of styles that's available, and it will, at the top you'll see something that says Edit, and then it will have your style in phrase quote marks. I can select that to open the style folder and make changes to the style. Under citations, you'll see there's a templates here. This is how your in-text citations will display. If you would like to add some additional information in there, you can do that. Maybe you want it to include the cited pages, so the page numbers. Maybe you want this is a numbered style, so maybe you want the numbers to appear in superscript instead of standard numbers in brackets. So you can make changes there. You can also do other things, so how many authors you want listed in the citations, how you want the author names to display, and the numbering or the sort order you can change if you need to. Under the bibliography templates, this is where you'll see all of the reference types that have been set up for that particular style and the fields that are included for each reference type. Again, you can make some changes here if you need to. Maybe, for example, there's a title that's in italics, but you don't want it to be in italics, you can change that there. Or if you want part of something like the year to be bolded for some reason, you can do minor changes to update the style there. You can also insert other fields as well. For example, maybe this one, I want to include a URL field. I can click on the insert field here and select it, and it will add the URL in. It will include that URL field. If there's a reference type that you need that isn't available, you can click on reference types and set up another template for that. Maybe you want an electronic book, and you can include that there. Usually I recommend trying to avoid editing the styles if you can. Just because it is quite complicated and it's time consuming. And there are some things that you need to know about the formatting to get it to display correctly. If you're just doing minor changes like italicizing or bolding, it's usually fine. But if you want to go more into editing the style, yeah, it gets a bit more complicated. In the EndNote Extras guide on the Add and Edit Styles page, just down at the bottom of that page, we have some information about modifying reference types and output styles. And that has a link that goes to the EndNote website and provides you with a style editing guide for Windows and Mac. So if you do want to do that, there is that guide available that talks you through how to edit the styles. If you can't find a style that's available for the journal that you're submitting to or anything like that, you can try and find another style that's very similar, and hopefully you would only need to make a few changes. The library isn't available or isn't able to edit styles for you, so if you do go down this route, I would suggest looking at that style editing guide because you will need to make those changes yourself. So just close that style folder. Okay, so back, just back in my EndNote library again, I wanted to give you a few tips for saving time when you're editing your references and making sure that they're correct for your style. Something that you may come across is if you are using the APA style, APA uses sentence capitalization for the titles, which means that the first letter of the first word, the first letter of a subtitle, and any proper names or abbreviations, etc., will start with a capital letter, but the rest will be in lowercase. When you export your information over from a database, you may find that the capitalization that is used isn't correct for the style. For example, here I have an article where each sort of word is starting with a capital letter, but because I'm using APA, I don't want it to display in that way. If I click the Edit tab, I could go in and just change all of these myself, which is going to take me a bit of time to do. The other thing I can do is highlight that title, go to the Edit menu, and there's an option to change case. Here I can select Sentence Case, and now it will display that in sentence capitalization, except for that, which it didn't do properly. Okay. So that's just a quick way of being able to change the capitalization without you needing to go and edit each word yourself. You do need to be a little bit careful when you do that because if there are any proper names, like a country or a person, and you highlight it, EndNote won't know that it's a proper name. So you may need to go and make sure your the capitalization is correct for any proper names. I'll save that and go back to the Summary tab, and now it's displaying with those in the correct capitalization. If you use the Chicago style, Chicago is different to APA because that uses headline capitalization, which means that each significant word will start with a capital letter. But that's something that can happen if you have an abbreviation in your title, which should appear all in uppercase letters. It may change it so it displays with the first letter as a capital and then the following letters after that as lowercase. You can see in my example here, I've got an abbreviation, BIM, in the title, but it's got a capital B and then I and M are in lowercase. And you don't really want that. You want it to display all in uppercase letters. If you go back to Edit and to your Preferences, or if you're on a Mac, the Preferences is under your EndNote menu. The first option that we have is Change Case. And here you can enter how you would like particular abbreviations to appear. I can enter BIM here and add. So we'll add that to my list. You can see I've got quite a few here already. So anytime any of those abbreviations are used in a title, it will display with that specific capitalization. Also, if you are doing things like chemical symbols that have upper and lowercase letters and things like that, that you can also do that here. I'm going to apply and OK. And if I click off that and then come back to my preview, now you can see that it's displaying BIM all in uppercase letters, which is how it should be displaying. Unfortunately, the way the style is set up for Chicago is that it will display all those titles in headline capitalization, so it does change those. So that's just a few little tips for working on the capitalization and hopefully saving you time when you're doing your referencing and editing your references. I'm going to go through some options now for adding attachments, PDFs and attachments to your references in your EndNote library. So when you export references from the databases, they won't necessarily add the full text PDF to your reference, but you can add it manually, which would have been demonstrated in our EndNote Essentials class. So you come here to the PDF, you can attach PDF, you would select that, find the PDF and attach it to the reference. There are some other ways that you can get PDF articles into your library. If you have a folder of PDFs on your computer, you can import these into your library, and EndNote will try and create a reference for the PDF. If I go to File and Import, I can select one single file, one single PDF, or I can select from a folder. I just need to find where I've got that saved. So here I've got a PDFs folder on my desktop. I'll do OK and select that. The import option will be PDF. And you can select whether you want all of the references to be imported from those PDFs, or you can discard duplicates if you want, so you don't end up with lots of extra duplicated references in your library. I'll click on that import. And it's added those references that were in that PDF folder that I had. Okay. So very quick and easy. It's added those references and attached the PDFs to it. And it's actually created the reference for me. These articles will have DOIs, so digital object identifiers, which means that EndNote can go off and find the information and create the reference for me. If I go to the summary tab, I can see here that it's created the reference for me. So that just saves you a little bit of time when you're doing that. If the PDF that you're importing doesn't have a DOI, it may create a blank reference with just a title and the attachment. If that happens, you may need to update or edit the reference yourself to include the reference information. So you might want to add the title, the author's name. If you can find a DOI, put that into the DOI field. There's also an option that's under the references menu. which allows you to go off and find reference updates. So if you include enough information, it will see, EndNote will go off and see if it can find another reference that sort of matches up with that, and you can get that information added to your reference. So if I don't think I've got an example, but I'll just highlight this reference, go to the references drop-down menu here and do find reference updates. It's going to go off and see if it can find that reference, and it will come up with this side-by-side where comparing my reference to what's available, the available updates for that. So I can, and it will highlight where there's some differences. For example, here I can see the title that I have is just the short title. There is a subtitle available, so I could go and update all of the fields, and it will go and update all of that information. Or I can update just the empty fields, or I can edit the reference myself to include that other information. So just a quick little thing, you can highlight some references and see if there's information available to update. When you're getting references from something like Google Scholar and it doesn't have all the information you need, this can be a useful way of getting that additional information. Also, if you are working with in-press articles or advanced articles that haven't got the full publication details, it might be useful to go back, do the find reference updates and see if the article has now been published and has volume and issue information that you can update. So that's one way that you can get PDFs is by importing a folder of PDFs. You can also set up a folder so you can do automatic importing of your PDFs. To do this, you just need to create a folder on your computer, and then if you go to the Edit and Preferences and PDF Handling, in the second or the lower part of that pane, there's a PDF Auto Import folder option. I've already got my folder set up here. I can tick Enable Automatic Importing, and that means the EndNote will go and scan this folder that I've set up, and every time there's a new article, a new PDF added to that folder, EndNote will go in and import it into your library and create the reference if it has a DOI. So rather than you having to import them all yourself, you can just send those PDFs into that folder. EndNote will go and scan it every now and then and import anything that's new to that folder. So I'll do apply and OK. I'm not sure it's going to scan that just yet. It may do, but it'll just go off and sort of import those references into my library and attach the PDFs to them. Another option that we have for accessing or getting PDFs and attachments is using what's called EndNote Click. Just back in the EndNote Extras guide, I'm going to go to the Attach PDFs page. this has those options that I was telling you about, the automatic importing and creating the references from PDFs. But there is a browser plugin that can help you find full text PDF articles when you're searching on the web, and you can send them into your EndNote library. You do have to download the plugin, and you do have to register for an EndNote Click account to do this. So just follow the information on that on this page, and it will show you how to sign up for that. But when I just show you, so what happens with the plugin is when I come to an article that where the PDF is available for me, I can click on this. I'll get this tab popping up which says View PDF, and I can click on that, hopefully. And it's going to send that article to what's called my EndNote Click Locker. And from there, I can export that to my desktop. It will generate an export file. I'll just do open. And when I come back to my EndNote library, it's added it in there, and I've got that paperclip icon, which means that it's attached to the article. So just another way that's useful for finding those PDFs. You'll also get a little tab up in the toolbar here. If you click that, it lets you search Google Scholar, so you can find resources that are available in Google Scholar, and you'll be able to also send those into EndNote, your EndNote Click Locker, and export to your desktop library. So a very useful little plugin that will help you find those PDFs. It's just useful if you can manage all of your research in one place. So if you have all of your PDFs, etc. in here, it's going to make it a lot easier for you and more efficient when you are doing your research. If there's any questions as we're going along, please do feel free to pop them into the chat, and I will try and answer them. Another feature that is one that's new in the EndNote 21 version of the software is retraction alerts. So if an article has been retracted, you probably don't want to include it in your research. And as long as you have your EndNote Online account and you're signed in, if there is an article that is retracted, it will be flagged in EndNote. And it's added to a folder that comes up here in your folders menu on the left-hand side called Retractions. So you know that the article has been retracted. So this is based on information taken from the Retraction Watch website. Also, when you are working in Word, it will warn you if you insert a retracted article. You may have noticed my EndNote just did a little thing, and it's just imported those references that were in my automatic PDFs importing folder while I was showing you that. So they've gone into that imported references. But yeah, so this will be useful just in case any of the articles that you're working with are retracted, you probably don't want them in your research. So you'll be warned that that it has been retracted. It will be put into this folder, and in Word, if you insert a citation from a retracted article, you will also get a warning in there. I'm just going to talk now about just a bit about managing your library and some things that are useful for managing and organizing your references. The first thing is that I'm going to talk about is just when you add your references to your EndNote library, they're given a record number. So the first reference that's added will be number 1. The next one is number 2, but the record numbers aren't repeated. So if you delete reference number 1, it's not going to use that number again. It can be useful, particularly if you're having trouble with duplicate references, to know what the reference number is. I'll just quickly show you here. When you have a look at your tabs panel, at the top next to the summary button, you will see that the author name is displayed there, the year, and then you'll have a hash and a number next to it. So that's the number, that's the record number for this reference in your library. If you, in Word, it may not always be clear that you actually have 2 different references inserted for the same source, but you can check the record numbers and that can help you sort out which reference you should be using. I'll also talk to you a little bit more about record numbers shortly, as it does affect some things when you're syncing to your syncing Word documents on different computers. In the middle section of your EndNote library, this is where your references will display. And by default, the fields that are displayed here, so the author, the year, the title, the journal name, etc. But you can actually change what order the information appears in and the fields that you would like to include here. I don't think I can, it's not going to let me do that. Okay. So if you scroll over, you can see all those different fields that are displaying here. I can change this though by going to Edit and Preferences, and under Display Fields, I have up to 10 columns that I can display, and I can change the options here to the particular field that I wanted to include. Maybe if I wanted to have the author or the year first or the title first, whatever, I could change these. If I wanted to see the record numbers, I can select that in one of those blank ones. Or I can change ones that are already there, or I may not want to display a particular field. So here I can just do Apply and OK, and now it's displaying those record numbers there. It's taken out the PDF attachments one, so I can just organize those fields and which is going to be most useful for me to be looking at. Adagna has a question, what is the advantage of using EndNote over Mendeley or Zotero? So Curtin actually provides, so we actually pay for the license for EndNote, so you can have access to the desktop program. Mendeley and Zotero are free ones, but they may not have all of the features that you can get when you are using the paid version of EndNote. Zotero, though, if you are in law and you're using the AGLC referencing, the Australian Guide to Legal Citation, Zotero tends to work better with that. So you can use it with EndNote, but if you were doing something like that, Zotero is a bit more helpful. But you may find, because they're free software, there is like limits on what you can do and how many references and things like that you can have. So you don't have to use EndNote, but we have the Curtin pays for the license, so you can get that full functionality. When you add your references to the library, you can, it will bring the reference information over so it can create your reference. But if you go to the Edit tab and scroll down, there's a number of other fields that are available that you won't necessarily be using. But there's a few that can be useful. So there's a notes and a research notes field. So if you want to manage all of your research in one place in EndNote, have it all in EndNote with your PDFs and everything, you can use these notes and research notes to like add quotes or gaps or how you want to use the article, your own notes on that reference. So these don't display in the reference list entry because they won't be set up in the style template, but it's just somewhere that's useful that you can record your notes about that source. There is another feature that is available in EndNote 21, which is the tags feature. And this is just another way that you can organize your references. I've got in my my folders here, I've got in my tags, and then I've got different tags for various resources here. And I can create these tags, which are just customizable labels to organize my references. If you go to tags in the toolbar at the top, you can select Create Tag. Just give it a name. Tourist or whatever you want to call it. Select a color and then you can create the tag. And as you're working with your references, you can then go in and tag those references. So in the summary pane here, there's a Manage Tags option, and if I click on that, I can just select the tags that I want to add to that one. I can also create other tags if I need to, and it's just a way of organizing your research. I'll do OK, and now those tags have been applied to that article. And they'll be added to the group that appears under my tags here. And in your library, you'll see those tags appear next to the article titles or the resource titles there. So just another way that you can organize your references and make it a bit easier to find that information that you require. I'm going to switch over to Word now and go through some tips for working with long documents. When you install EndNote, you should also get the EndNote toolbar so you can work with your EndNote library. So I've just popped over here into my Word, and I've got my EndNote toolbar open up here. One thing that we do recommend if you are working on a long document is to convert your citations to unformatted citations, or basically you're turning the instant formatting off. Under the Convert Citations and Bibliography drop-down, you'll see there's a Convert to Unformatted Citations option here. So when you're working with, my document at the moment only has very few references, so it's not a big deal for me, but as I start to add more and more references, and I'm working on that long document, if you have the instant formatting switched on, so it's displaying in the referencing style that you have selected, it's actually going to go through and update all of the citations that you have in your document every time you add a new citation. So you can imagine that's going to slow down your document a lot, and it can take a while for it to actually go through and process all of those citations and make sure they match up with your library. So converting your document to unformatted citations means that it's going to keep updating. It's not going to keep updating every time you put in a new citations. You'll notice when I changed it, the display of the citations will change. You'll only see the author name, the year, and it'll be in squiggly brackets. It also displays the record number for that reference. Okay, so here, if you've ended up with duplicates in your document, this is a good way to find you can see the record numbers, and you can see if you have inserted different citations for the same reference. Also, when you scroll down, you'll notice that your reference list will disappear. But this is just an easier way when you are working in a long document to insert your citations. You can still go in and insert citations as you would. They'll just be in this unformatted style. If you want to, maybe when you're about to close out of your document, you've finished doing your research, you can go back and reformat, turn the formatting back on by clicking on Update Citations and Bibliography. I think that's going to, it just wants me to select those references. There we go. And so it's gone through, and now it's formatting them back in that style, and my reference list is back. So just an easier way to work with when you're using a lot of references. You can also change it here, so just turn the instant formatting on. I mentioned the record numbers before, and they're good for finding duplicates if you've got duplicate citations in your document. But something else just to keep in mind is if you do set up syncing and you have your library synced to another computer and you open your Word document on that computer, because the record numbers won't be the same in that synced library, you just need to, when you open your document, go to Update Citations and Bibliography, and it will go through and sync with the references in that library that you're using on that other computer. Okay. And just associate those references to the ones that are in your synced library. Okay. When you're working on your documents, sometimes it is useful to work with separate documents and then pull them all together at the end. Just makes it easier for you when you're working on your research. So here I'm just, I've got some other documents here. So I've got Chapter 1 open, but I've also got Chapter 2 in a separate document, and Chapter 3 as well. So I've got all, sorry, it's not wanting me to select it. So now I've got all three chapters, but I want to put them into one single document. So if you want to merge them into one document, you just need to create a new blank document. And I'll just save that. Sorry, bear with me while I just save this to my desktop here. There we go. Save. So I've created this new blank document, and I'm going to go back to Chapter 1, my first chapter, and I'm going to convert this to unformatted citations. Highlight the text, and then I'm going to copy and paste that into my blank document, and do the same for Chapter 2. And Chapter 3. There we go. So because I have some references that are common across the different chapters, once I've pasted them all of that, those unformatted chapters into here, I'm just going to go to my EndNote toolbar and update citations and bibliography. I think it's going to do this. Yeah, it's just wanting me to check that I've got those correct citations. There you go. Now I've updated the citations and bibliography. It's displaying in my style, and then it's created a single reference list at the end of that document. Okay. So all of the references, and if I have multiple references from the same citation, it's just going to put it once in the reference list. So anytime you want to merge chapters together, just make sure that you are converting to unformatted, copy and paste into a new document, and then update citations and bibliography, and it will put it all together for you. Just a few other little things to note with when you're using EndNote in a long document. Often you may sort of send your document to someone and they might use track changes to give you feedback on that, but EndNote doesn't really like track changes because they're doing sort of similar things with formatting in that they do sort of clash with each other, and sometimes that can cause your document to crash or issues with the formatting in your document. If you are using track changes, if you go to the Review tab, you can change this option where it says All Markup to No Markup or Final, depending on your version of Word, when you're using track changes, and that should make sure that it's not interfering with your EndNote references and hopefully won't crash your document. Often you may also send your document to your supervisor or someone else, and they may add some references from their own library into your Word document. But then if you don't have those references in your library, EndNote creates what's called a traveling library, which means that it includes all of the information that's needed to format the citation and the reference list entry. It'll include that in your document. But if you do have some references that someone else has inserted from a different library and they're not in your library, if you go to Edit and Manage Citations, this will tell you in that top section what library it's coming from. And if you see ones that say Traveling Library, I don't think I have any here. If you see ones that say Traveling Library, that means that they're not in the library that you're using. But you can add those references to your EndNote library. If you go to Export to EndNote, you can export the Traveling Library. You just select the library that you want to send it to and then do OK. And because it's created all of that information that's needed to format the reference in your document, that's all going to be sent into your library and create the references there. So just a quick way of being able to get access to those references. Just one last thing in Word to note is when you are ready to submit your work, it's always good to create a plain text copy of your document, and so that creates a second copy that isn't talking to your EndNote library. When you're working on a long document, it can become very complicated working with all that EndNote formatting. But if you go to submit your work, it's best to submit a plain text copy. So that's going to just create that second copy of the document that's not talking to your EndNote library, so there's no grey shading. there may be instances where you do need to manually change your references or your in-text citations because they don't work for some reason. There's a few reference types that just EndNote can't deal with, so you do need to add in extra information, but that's this copy that you can do that in. But always keep your original copy that is talking to EndNote. If you do need to go back and make changes, you won't be able to you won't be able to get the EndNote formatting back. Otherwise, you need to keep a copy of that original document. The last thing that I was going to quickly touch on, okay, just back on the EndNote extras, is how to access EndNote once you leave Curtin. So while you're here, you have access to the desktop software download, so you can use that on your computer. Once you've downloaded the software, you will be able to keep it on your computer. The only thing is you'll stop getting updates for it. Just on the troubleshoot issues page in EndNote extras, there's the common issues with EndNote, and at the bottom of that there is some instructions on how you can retain access to your library. So you can, once you leave Curtin, purchase your own license for the EndNote desktop software if you find that it's really useful for you. Or you can sign up for an EndNote online account from EndNote desktop before you finish your course. So if you've set up syncing, you would have set up an EndNote online account. But before you leave, before you finish at Curtin, just change your Curtin email in EndNote Online to a personal email address. So there's instructions there on how to do that. That just means that if you go to access it at a different institution, or when after you've finished and you no longer have access to your email address, it just means that you will be able to still access your library that's synced on EndNote Online. Also, make sure that you log into your EndNote Online account from an authenticated IP address. So if you're on campus or via the VPN, this just means that you'll get premium level access to EndNote Online for 1 year from the date that you authenticate. So you just get a bit of extra functionality there. After that time though, your EndNote Online account will go to a basic account, which has a reduced file attachment storage capacity and has a limited number of styles that you can use. So if you are sort of leaving Curtin, just keep that in mind if you do want to continue to have access to your EndNote library. So I'm already on this troubleshoot issues page. If you do run into any issues with using EndNote, we have this troubleshoot issues page. You can Google error messages. Often that's what we do if somebody comes with an error. Often there's somebody else has had the same issue and they have instructions for fixing it. Just make sure you do keep up to date with your software updates. Particularly if you're having trouble with EndNote or your site while you write toolbar, so the EndNote toolbar in Word, just check if there's any updates that haven't been installed yet, and install them if they're there, and then reopen EndNote and it should hopefully fix some issues there. Also, make sure that you do restart your computer every now and then for system-wide updates to be applied. The EndNote support website is a really useful place to go if you do run into issues. They have a knowledge base which has articles on a whole range of things to do with EndNote. If you, for example, don't have your Cite While You Write toolbar, there's instructions there on how to add that. You can also get in contact with the EndNote support team. So just over here, there's an email. If somebody is available, you may also get an online chat box that you can talk to someone. But particularly if you're having very more technical issues with EndNote, the EndNote support team are very helpful, and they're usually very prompt in replying to you and providing instructions on fixing any issues. If you have problems with actually the downloading or installation of EndNote, then you can get in contact with the library. But all other sort of issues, the EndNote team can help you. I have those common issues with EndNote listed here. These are ones that we get asked about quite a bit. So we've got some instructions there on fixing those various issues. And you can also contact the library if you do want further information or support. Just go to the help link on the library homepage. You can fill in the form, or there's an email address, libraryhelp@curtin.edu.au. If you get in contact, we will try and sort of help you troubleshoot your issues. Please make sure when you do contact us that you provide as much information as you can about what's happening, and if you can put in some screenshots, that helps us as well. Don't just say, I've got an issue with EndNote. We do need to have some details so we can troubleshoot for you. That is all that I have to cover for today. I hope this has been a useful session, giving you some extra tips and tricks to help you with doing your research when you're working with EndNote. If anybody has any questions, please do feel free to pop them into the chat, and I can stick around for a little bit longer and sort of help out with that. I mentioned at the beginning, this session has been recorded, so I will send out the recording after the session to everybody that has registered for the class. Thanks, everybody.